few months before the onset of COVID-19. Mobile users, take heed. Before the lockdown, my two close friends, F1 and F2, and I had a ritual of visiting the local shopping center every Sunday for a few hours. Among our escapades, this particular encounter stands out as quite the spectacle. Cast: EM, entitled mother. ED, entitled dad. ET, entitled teenager. EK, entitled kid. B, baby. Me, shoe rack. Yes, you read that right. F1, friend 1. F2, friend 2, a trans guy, crucial detail. Any, nice employee. The tale. As we queued up at McDonald's, opting for the self-service kiosk to avoid unnecessary social interaction, I volunteered to foot the bill. However, before we could complete our transaction, EM interjected. EM, excuse me, we haven't ordered yet. Me, you can place your order in a moment. We're in the middle of payment. EM, we need to order first. Me, but then I'd end up paying for your meal. EM, you're paying for their food. This declaration left us exchanging incredulous glances. F1, we're her friends. She doesn't know you. EM, my children are starving. ET, engrossed in her phone, appeared unfazed. Meanwhile, EK seemed restless, triggering my peculiar fear of small children. B was dozing off. F1, they don't seem to be starving. EK, mommy, I want to go to the arcade. EM, just a moment, sweetie. These girls are being selfish. F2, we don't know you, Karen. M, don't talk back to me. I won't take this from some stupid little girl. F2 visibly winced at the misgendering, prompting F1 and me to leap to his defense. Me, don't talk to him like that. EM's entitlement reached new heights at the mention of F2's correct pronouns. EM, oh, so you're a bunch of dirty trannies, figures. F1, at least we're not entitled. M, how dare you? This escalated quickly, leading her to attempt theft from a group of high schoolers. M, give me your card. I don't have all day. Me, what? In a brazen move, Karen snatched my debit card from my grasp. Me, give it back. She passed it to ED, who handed it to ET, and she held onto it tightly. ET, finders keepers, losers weepers. Me, seriously, that's all my money. I need it back. EM smirked smugly. EM, I need to go pay for my food. The family walked away to another machine, beginning their order. Swiftly, I accessed my online banking app and deactivated the card. Not 5 minutes later, EM stormed back, card in hand, only for me to reactivate it. Why isn't the stupid card working? F2, it's a magical debit card. F1, it stays loyal to its owner. Me, like a wand in Harry Potter. Karen appeared ready to strike, but F2 reclaimed the card and tapped it on the contactless receiver. Success. He then tucked it safely into my back pocket. EM screamed and beckoned Annie over. Annie, clearly acquainted with dealing with Karens, approached with an air of resignation. Annie, what's the problem, ma'am? EM, these girls stole my card. Annie, girls, is that true? F2, no, she assumed that I would pay for her food and tried to snatch my friend's card. EM, shut up, you lying tranny. Annie, do you have any proof of this accusation? EM, no, but I'm older than you. You have to believe me. I showed Annie the bank account details on my phone, prompting an epic eye roll. Annie, ma'am, this is her card. Please leave them alone. EM scoffed. EM, of course, you side with a bunch of sinning trannies. You'll all go to hell for not listening to me. And with that, she stormed off, leaving us all heaving sighs of relief. Annie, are you three okay? F1, we're fine. We collected our food and managed to steer clear of Karen for the rest of the day. But we couldn't help but laugh about it for the entire week. Thankfully, ET doesn't go to our school. Otherwise, she'd likely bring it up incessantly. So I currently work as a medical assistant, not saying where for privacy reasons. Today, a lot of patients were canceling their appointments due to the bad weather. There was a lady, the Karen of the story, and her appointment was at the end of the day. I called her to see if she wanted to move up her appointment to an earlier time because there were lots of gaps in the schedule. I called her, and initially, she said that she needed to keep her appointment because that was the only time that would work for her. Later today, she called us to change her appointment to the spot I was trying to put her in. She tells one of my coworkers who answered her call that she just got out of work and that she can make it by 3 p.m. Her appointment was initially at 4 p.m. This is where it gets bad. A little while after she changed her appointment over the phone, she called us back and raged. She called another one of my coworkers who answered her call and told her that she wouldn't be able to make it at 3 p.m. and she's coming at 4 p.m. instead. She was mad that her appointment time was changed and that she couldn't make the time that she changed it to. Makes absolutely no sense. Then Karen tells my coworker to go to hell because she wasn't doing her job and that no one in our office has our shit together. Then my coworker told her, "You can take this up with my manager if you want." At that point, she transferred her to the manager and hung up. I can't believe how rude Karen was to her. Then, she came to the appointment, and she was kind of *TCHY to the front desk lady. However, she was able to calm Karen down, which was good. I then grabbed her from the waiting room, took her to the exam room, and did her vitals, etc. She was nice to me, which shocked me, to be completely honest. After that, I didn't have to encounter her for the rest of her office visit. In conclusion, this was a tale about the consequences of your actions. Hopefully, she doesn't yell at us again. Yikes.
Ever thought about how love can turn your world upside down, and then, in a twist of fate, set it right again? Let's delve into a tale that encapsulates this very essence of love and heartbreak. Our protagonist, a man of strength and perseverance, once had a heart full of love. He was full of life and laughter, his spirit infectious, his heart worn on his sleeve. He fell in love, deeply and passionately, with a woman who became his world. Flashback to a time when life was simpler. Picture a man, starry-eyed and hopeful, his heart throbbing with love for the woman of his dreams. He gave her everything, his heart, his soul, his very being. They were inseparable, two halves of a whole, complete in their love for each other. But as fate would have it, this beautiful dream came crashing down. His heart was shattered when the woman he loved left him. The man who was once full of life and laughter turned into a shell of his former self. His spirit was broken, his heart trampled upon. He gave up on life, his world turned gray and lifeless. Now imagine the depths of despair, the abyss of loneliness. He was at rock bottom, his heart aching with the pain of lost love. The world seemed a cruel and unforgiving place. He roamed aimlessly, lost in a sea of despair, his heart yearning for a love that was no more. Just when he thought he had hit rock bottom, life threw him a lifeline. He found love again, in the most unexpected of places. It wasn't a grand affair, no fireworks or fanfare. It was a simple, beautiful connection that bloomed in the quiet corners of his heart. With time, he began to heal. The love he found was nurturing, kind, and understanding. It was a love that didn't demand, but gave. A love that didn't hurt, but healed. A love that breathed life back into his lifeless world. Our protagonist's journey was not an easy one. From the depths of heartbreak to the heights of love, he traversed a path that was fraught with pain and despair, but he emerged from it stronger, wiser, and more resilient. In the end, he found more than just love. He found hope, he found forgiveness, and most importantly, he found himself. His tale is a testament to the power of love and the strength of the human spirit. A tale that reminds us that even in our darkest moments, love can find a way to shine through. Remember, love can break us, but it also has the power to heal us. It can bring us to our knees, but it can also lift us up. It's a journey that takes us through the highs and the lows, the joy and the pain. But in the end, it's all worth it, because love, in its truest form, is a beautiful thing. It's the beacon of hope that guides us through the darkest nights, the balm that heals our broken hearts, and the force that drives us to keep going, even when the odds are against us.
This happened maybe 5 years back. I am a mailman, and my route consists of a single stop with 65 community boxes for a large gated community of 800 houses. Each community box has 8 to 16 mailboxes in it, 1 to 2 lockers for parcels, and an outgoing mail slot. Each box has a master lock that opens the entire front of the box so that I can access all of the mailboxes inside of it without having to open all of them individually. The boxes are set up in 4 rows, and it takes me about an hour to deliver to each row. I'm paid by salary, not hourly, so the faster I get done, the more per hour I get paid, which is a great incentive to find ways to cut time out of my day. One way I do this is that I will split the mail into 4 sections, 1 for each row of boxes. Instead of bundling mail for each box individually, I then open all the boxes on that row, go through to the flats, magazines, and legal envelopes and such, and then through with the letters, and then through with the packages, then lock everything up, and move on to the next row. I've been doing this route for 20 years now, and most of the people there know me by sight. I'm friendly with a few, and whenever someone I don't know approaches while working, I let them know my rules. You do not reach into any mailbox that I currently have open. If you need your mail now and are unable to come back later, tell me which of the boxes your mailbox is in, and I will close it for you so that you can unlock your individual mailbox and get your mail from it. I will not deliver out of order, no matter how big a hurry you happen to be in, because the mail all comes in a specific order, and it is a pretty large waste of my time to have to dig through and find yours. And I do not permit children to be near any box that is open, because you never know what a kid is going to grab. And grab they do. I know from experience. I feel like these are reasonable rules to ask people to follow. So, along comes Karen. This being a rather wealthy gated community, you would think I would run into more of them, but the people there are usually really polite and respectful of my rules. So, you know the type. Slightly overweight, bleach blonde bob cut, pantsuit, shoes that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. She walks right up to me as I'm just starting to unload everything from my mail truck and demands to know which mailbox is hers. Doesn't tell me her name, doesn't tell me her address, just walks up and demands to know which mailbox is hers. You might be wondering how she could possibly not know. When there's 800 mailboxes and 65 community boxes, it can be a little daunting to figure out which box is yours when you first move in. So, in this situation, there's a few questions I need to ask to figure out the best way to help someone. So I start with, have you received a set of mail keys yet? To which she replied, I don't see how that is any of your business. I explained to her that I needed to know if she had her keys yet, so I knew if I needed to grab my lock change kit and swap out the lock so I could hand her a new set of keys. She says that yes, she has her keys. Meanwhile, her son, probably 8 to 10 years old, is starting to pick through the mail I have already unloaded. I have kids. I know how to talk to kids. I told him that he needed to stop playing with the mail. Not loud, not mean, but firm. Karen absolutely exploded over this. She started screaming about how I had no right to order her son around like that. When she finally yelled herself out, I told her that what the boy was doing was called tampering with the mail. That is a felony, and as his legal guardian, she would be held responsible if he didn't stop. So she made a token, get away from there, comment to her kid, and he moved off to play on the grass nearby. So I got all of her info and showed her which box was hers. It was in the last row, so I wouldn't be getting to it for a few hours. She opened it and found all of the mail that had come for her before she got her key. She flipped through it to make sure it was all hers. I keep meticulous track of who lives where and who has moved out. So I've been pulling and forwarding all of the mail from the previous owner and delivering anything with a name I didn't recognize for a couple of weeks. I typically don't start delivering the weekly ads to boxes until someone has picked up their mail for the first time, because they can really pile up. She saw that there were no ads and flipped out, accusing me of stealing her mail and telling me she was going to drag my postmaster down there and get me fired. It was, in fact, our postmaster who had trained me when I first started. He was a carrier then. He was the one that told me to do that, and he tells all new carriers to do so to this day. I asked if she would like his phone number, and she started yelling at me for being a smartass. As she was doing that, her son started poking around in the mail again. Since this was his second warning, I was a lot sharper when I told him to get away from it this time, and he started crying. Like this 10-year-old kid, crying like a 4-year-old. Talk about spoiled. Yeah, 10-year-olds cry, but not like that. And not from a little, "Hey, I told you to get away from that." I expect this kid has never been told no in his entire life. "How dare you yell at my baby? Don't you know who I am?" Karen screamed at me, and then slapped me full across the face. I've been hit before, but that one caught me so by surprise that I actually saw stars. I didn't think that was actually a thing until then. I was taught to never hit a woman, so I restrained myself, but told her that if she did that again, I was going to have to call the police, and I would be pressing assault charges, and that her boy needed to get away from the male. She then told me that if I called the police, she would tell them that I tried to rape her. I was like, "Whatever, have a nice day, lady," as sarcastically as humanly possible. She just stood there. I was like, "What?" And she says, "What about today's mail?" I told her of my rules, and that I wouldn't be getting to her box for a few hours. She looked like she was going to lose it again, but just walked off in a frustrated huff. She didn't go far, though. She walked over a ways away from the mailboxes, and stood there like she was going to wait 3 hours for me to get to her mailbox just out of sheer spite or something. I was like, "Whatever," and went back to unloading. I opened up all the boxes on the first row and started deliver. Her kid came over for a closer look, and that's fine, as long as he stays back and keeps his hands to himself. Kids are curious and often surprised by how the community boxes open up and want a closer look. I told him that he could watch, but he needed to stay back. Thankfully, Karen didn't hear this, or I imagine she'd be screaming at me again. I finished up the first row, and I looked over. Karen was still there waiting and glaring at me like I'd murdered her family. Her son looked like he was about to drop dead of sheer boredom, and I don't blame him. Watching me deliver mail is not exactly the most entertaining thing in the world. I don't get why she wouldn't just go home and come back in a few hours. Like, what did she think she was going to prove by standing there and glaring at me the whole time I was working? So, before I got started on the second row, I made a quick call to my supervisor at the post office and let her know everything that had happened. She told me that if Karen should approach me again, I was to start filming her with my phone so that there would be video evidence if things escalated. That was what sealed Karen's fate in the end and saved me from wrongful rape accusations, so I'm glad she told me to do it. So I get back to work, open all the boxes on the second row, and start delivering. The kid was back watching me, but this time, he moved right up to me and reached into one of the mailboxes as I put a magazine into it like he was going to grab the magazine. I grabbed him by the wrist, pulled his hand out, and pinned it to his chest with a finger, then told him in a very low, serious voice that if he did that again, things were going to get nasty. So what does the kid do? He reaches into the box, pulls out the magazine, and tears it in half. So, at this time, I am at the absolute end of my patience with these people. I flipped my shit. I started yelling at the kid. I started yelling at the Karen. The Karen started yelling at me. I pulled out my phone and I started filming her. She went on a rampage. She started flipping all my trays of mail over, throwing it all over the place, throwing packages around, reaching into open mailboxes and throwing mail from them onto the ground. I got it all on film while I was trying to stop her. She kept saying, "Don't you put your hands on me or I scream rape." Then she pulls out her phone and calls the police. She tells them that the mailman has tried to force himself on her and she needs officers there immediately. As I am filming everything, it's like she doesn't even live in reality. Then she just stands there amid the mess with this triumphant, evil little smile on her face, like, "I got you, and I know it. Now I'm gonna watch you burn." I stopped filming and called my supervisor. My supervisor called the police and the postal inspectors, who have the same authority as U.S. Marshals and handle all mail-related crimes. My supervisor shows up first. My supervisor gets there first. I explain everything that happened again, and I show her the video. She starts ripping into the Karen while the Karen keeps trying to say that I tried to rape her. My supervisor grabbed my phone and shoved it right up in front of her face and screamed, "Yeah, bitch." I can see that actually happened from the video evidence that shows nothing of the sort. The police showed up next and looked kind of at a loss for what they were supposed to do. The mail looked like a bomb went off. There's my supervisor screaming at Karen and not even letting her get a word in. There's her kid happily opening up as many packages as he can get his hands on, which I didn't even notice until then. They finally decided that they'd gotten an attempted rape call, so they were going to cuff me and read me my rights. But my supervisor intervened, showed them the video, and told them what really happened. Then the postal inspectors showed up. Postal inspectors have no sense of humor. I think it's surgically removed when they take the job. They also do not take bullshit from anyone. They looked at the mess. They looked at the video. They took my statement. They arrested Karen for tampering with the mail and for allowing a minor in her care to open mail not addressed to her. My supervisor had to send 4 other carriers over to help clean up the mess, and we were there well after dark getting it all sorted out and put into the boxes. Quite a few of the other residents had gathered to watch, and some stuck around to chat a bit while we were cleaning up. I explained what all had happened, and some of them were well aware of Karen and what a complete Karen she could be. So Karen went a trail. I was brought in to give my version of events. In the end, Karen was sentenced to 3 years in prison and had to pay a $250,000 fine. And I got a week off work to deal with my own anxiety over the whole thing. People, I don't care how pissed off you are or what you think you're doing. You do not fuck with the mail. You will go to prison for it.
So yesterday, I, 21, F, got into a car accident. It fender bender where this woman was trying to merge into my lane and hit me when merging. Like full on hit the side of my car door on my driver's side. So I didn't really think much except, oh shit, I'm gonna have to call 911 since it's 6 a.m. at this time. Well, fast forward a little when the highway patrol men came to tell who was at fault. I was standing outside my car with my dad. He came when I had gotten hit to help me assess damages and such. And suddenly I began to hear the women scream. She was screaming at the highway patrolman saying, "Why am I being charged? I had the right to merge. She didn't let me through. There was no one behind me, so why am I at fault? I have more damage to my car than she does. I cannot make this up." She was yelling that it was my fault that I didn't let her through. And he had to explain to her that if she had to wait an hour to get on the interstate, then she would have to because no one had to let her over. I've never seen someone drive off so quickly in my life until yesterday.
I was in an accident because a lady, right, turned into my lane. Her light was red. She got out, pissed at me, screaming she's calling the cops. I said okay and waiting in my car until they arrived. When the cop was getting our statements, she told him her light was red. She totally thought she had the right of way on a red right turn.
Same thing happened to me last year. I asked the cop if her story matched mine and he said pretty much. He also said she had video that verified my side of the story. I guess Teslas have cameras? I didn't have any damage, so I let it go on my end, but my tire and HD bumper did a good bit of damage to her vehicle. FF a few weeks and my insurance co calls asking about an accident I didn't report and that I'm likely at fault for. Yeah, this bitch tried to change her story and told her insurance company I was at fault. I asked about the video footage and yeah, they failed to mention that they had that.
I was stopped at a stoplight in 5 o'clock traffic, bright and sunny on a Monday, and this dude, drunk driving, passed out behind the wheel doing at least 60 miles per hour and a 45 miles per hour, bashed into these 70-year-old ladies behind me who were also stopped as long as I was at the light, so their car hit mine. Not even joking, he was going so fast that his car, after the collision, veered off the road and went 50+ meters ahead of the initial wreck before melting out of his car with a bloodied up face. Thankfully, the older ladies behind me were not hurt, but their car was destroyed. Anyway, Side's insurance tried to say the ladies hit me and then he hit them. And I was like, nope, that actually not what happened. They were following my car in busy traffic for well over a mile and I watched them get hit and slam into my car. And then his insurance goes, anything you could have done to avoid this? And I said, you heard the part where I was stopped, right? Like not moving at all at a red light? And she goes, no further questions. Yeah, dude's bum-ass insurance covered everything, my car and the lady's car, and after stalking him on Facebook and having all the info, he was driving his fiance's car and she left him shortly afterwards. Probably for driving her insurance through the roof. Yeah, I was taking a right turn at an intersection when a lady coming from the opposite direction tried taking a left at the same time. She proceeded to T-bone me mid-turn. Mind you, she's making a left across oncoming traffic. She comes charging out of her car, Her words exactly, "You could have stopped. You're paying for this. This is your fault." The police report, subsequent tickets, and insurance parties all vehemently disagreed with her.
My mom got into an accident with a guy who decided to pull over on the side of the road, then not actually look when he tried to pull out. Slammed into the side of my mom's car as she was passing. He said it was his fault until the cops showed up. Then he changed his story and said my mom drove into him. No cameras, his word versus hers. My mom didn't hear a thing about the accident afterwards, no insurance called or anything. I'm guessing they said it was 50-50 because she also didn't get anything for it. Why the hell can't people take responsibility for their own mistakes?
Her name was actually Doreen. Back door latch failed. I get there, door is stuck shut. I spread the door carefully and pop it out. As my partner disassembles the lock and takes the latch out, I reach up to look at the door and lost my balance, which sent my tumbling to the floor and my shirt riding up. The woman goes irate and says seeing my bare skin offended her. I offer a half-hearted apology, but I'm not having her shit. I ignore her and fix her hinge. My partner finishes up and bills her. She complained to our boss over and over that I wasn't properly dressed. Boss sides with me, customer is forced to pay the $150 bill, and she is put on the do not service list for 6 months for being a rude bitch. Good job, Doreen. Good job. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I'm 6 feet 5 inches, 197 centimeters, and heavyset, and most of my height is in my torso. So unless I want to spend twice as much for tall-sized shirts, my shirts ride up. I do what I can, tucking them a couple dozen times a day, but they still ride up whenever I'm not actively tucking them in. I was doing some work, crawling under desks, and every time I did my shirt rode up, and every time I stood up I tucked it back in. One of the people whose desk I crawled under made a complaint to my boss about me, flashing them. Unfortunately, my boss didn't have my back like yours does, and I got chewed out for it.
I'm a fat ass. I am not afraid to admit it, and I'm working on fixing that. But of course can't lose 80 pounds overnight. But yeah, this bitch, if I was a lesser human being, I would probably take some form of petty revenge, but frankly, she's pitiful. Proud of wall-to-wall carpet LOL.
You can lose weight OP, but I'm pretty sure Doreen will still be a bitch when she dies.
Unfortunately, Karens come in all ages. My friend did it to her own friends, where she pretended like on text we didn't do all those nice things for her in the past. When they don't get one thing they want from people, they feel like they have to weaponize their weaknesses and hurt other people because of their own insecurities and hurt.
Mom wants to keep my money safe. I just got a nice sum of money from a lawsuit, I got hit by a car, and now my mom wants to keep all of it because she doesn't trust me. I'm 18, I've been saving up to move out, and I want to use the $20,000 to pay rent in a new city. My mother is trying every trick in the book to make sure that money goes to her and not to me. Calling the lawyer, questioning my competence, explaining she has the better bank, etc. She keeps insisting I'm going to go on a shopping spree with it all, even thought that's what I'm sure she'll do with it. It's so frustrating because she won't let up, and I just need to know how to get her to leave me alone. Should I just let her take some of the money and hope she's honest about putting it in savings? Edit, thanks for the advice everyone. So I've decided to go to a financial advisor on how best to save and invest it. I will not be touching the money for rent or anything. I told my mother her plan and she was pissed. I told her I wasn't giving any to her and she said, "We'll see about that, don't worry though, I have no fears about her getting to it." She was never attached to my bank in the first place, not to the account, and she goes to a different bank. She used to steal my checks facepalm. While I wanted to get out of this house as soon as possible and I had hoped the money would be my golden ticket out of here, I will be saving up till school starts in the fall. You guys were right about how if I used it for rent it'll be gone and I might be fucked. Thank you all. Mom threatening to kick me out. All because I questioned where my money is going and how much I have. She controls my finances because she is worried I will spend it all and because I need to save up for a car. I thought I had enough last night, but it turns out I don't, only having 15K instead of 30K like my bank says. I thought I would be able to buy a car, but I was wrong. Honestly, my issue is that I'm an adult yet I'm not treated like one. I can't have a debit/credit card, don't know where my mom puts the money she withdraws from my account, only get $20 every 2 weeks and has to ask my mom for more. It just sucks, and now my mom's threatening to kick me out knowing I don't make enough to do that. All because I questioned where she puts my money. She thinks I think she's stealing it, which I don't. I just don't know what she is doing with it. I've been working hard and never see any of it. She says I should be grateful because I would have less if it weren't for her not making me pay rent, etc. Like, yes, I'm grateful for that, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to see the money I make. Girl bullied me for months, then apologized. What should I do? Girl from school accuses me of being a pedo. This is my first story that I can actually post here. Sorry for bad grammar in advance. So I'm 16M and a person from school I don't really get along with has been bullying me for a while. She has some beef with me for reasons unknown to me. And after a while my parents went to talk to their parents. And they ended up punching my parents. After this it started getting worse. And now entitled kid, has accused me of touching kids inappropriately. Now this isn't true, but the biggest evidence I have is that I'm asexual. Now there is no happy ending yet. Because I ended up yelling her to shut up and I got suspended. Updates if anything happens. Update: so the girl was a part of my local friend group. It got the worst in late December and early January. And I got diagnosed with depression and am starting to take antidepressants. But something weird happened the other day. She came up and apologized. Now I'm still skeptical, but she seemed genuinely sorry. My friend told me that the reason she apologized was because him a couple other friends abs her were on a voice call and he told her that I went home crying, which is true. And she told him she would apologize to me the next day. She apologized the next day, as she said. Now I'm pretty sure she's faking an apology or being blackmailed or something. It's only been a few days over the weekend and today is a snow day. What should I do? Do I trust her?
Should I keep putting my foot down against my mother who wants to track my phone? I, F28, have a very overprotective mother. I also travel a lot for work. Well, my job had me coming into town so my mom could see me. I had a meeting after. At the time I said I was done and texted her. She kept calling me during the whole meeting, despite me sending a message that I couldn't talk because I was in a meeting. When I'm finally done and about to call her, another coworker tells me that my mom is looking for me. She had came down to the place I was working, wandering the outside looking for me. When I called her, she said she was in tears and worried over me. The next day she asks if she can install an app to track my cell phone. I told her that I didn't feel comfortable with that and had hoped she would leave it at, but she kept pushing it until I said no. She keeps trying to coax me into getting it, saying things like, "I'll use it for emergencies." I said that was a slippery slope and I know her, and it's going to reach a point where just emergencies turn into full-blown tracking my every movement. She also argued that she's getting better at not being so protective because she's going to therapy, and I told her how about she asks her therapist what they think about her tracking me. At this point she keeps bringing it up and I'm growing tired. I'm wondering I should give in and put an end to harassment. But at the same time I feel like that's enabling her. I don't know what to do anymore to put an end to this.
I used to work AP for Walmart in Fontana, California, and one day I had this middle-aged white lady walk up to the exit door. I asked for her receipt and she responds to me, "Oh, you don't need to check my receipt. I'm not a minority." I looked at her and said, "Hun, this is Fontana. You are the minority here." Fontana is mainly Mexican and black as the majority. Well, she gets mad at me for calling her a minority and goes and talks to the whitest manager she can find. Well, this manager happens to be half black, though you wouldn't be able to tell she's mixedust by looking at her. This manager gives her an earful. Needless to say, I never saw this lady again.
I'm female, white as the driven snow, and must have the most innocent-looking face in the world because no one has ever asked to search my bag at an airport, event, or anywhere where they do such a thing. But they do that for everyone, even me LOL, at Walmart and Costco. I can't imagine being so entitled to think that you would be the exception.
LOL, I would have looked her right in the eyes and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but the only problems we have in this store are usually with people that look just like, well, you."
In contemplating this narrative, I am struck by a profound sense of bewilderment at the persistence of entitlement in contemporary society. It is both disheartening and perplexing to witness such attitudes prevail in an era purportedly marked by progress and enlightenment. As we find ourselves in the year 2024, one would hope that the scourge of bigotry and entitlement would have dissipated, relegated to the annals of history. Yet, regrettably, this is far from the reality we inhabit. Despite advancements in technology, science, and social awareness, the insidious grip of entitlement continues to exert its influence, casting a shadow over the collective consciousness. Indeed, the prevalence of entitlement in our time serves as a stark reminder of the work that remains to be done in fostering empathy, understanding, and equality. It prompts us to question the very foundations of our society and to confront the uncomfortable truths that lie beneath the surface. In confronting the persistence of entitlement, we are compelled to ask ourselves, how can we, as a society, continue to tolerate such attitudes? What steps can we take to dismantle the systems that perpetuate them? And perhaps most importantly, what role can each of us play in effecting meaningful change? These questions, though daunting, are essential if we are to strive towards a future characterized by genuine equality and justice for all. It is incumbent upon us to confront the uncomfortable realities of our time and to work tirelessly towards a more inclusive and compassionate society. Only then can we hope to truly transcend the specter of entitlement that continues to haunt us.